Okay. Everyone's been commenting on the latest Indiana Jones 5 trailer, and I've already watched it myself, but I've only actually watched it the once. So I'm going to watch it again, and I'm going to do it live and sort of just post. I might stop and start. I might sort of wait until the end, but just sort of, yeah, might watch it till the end and then sort of go back and comment on some little things that I can remember seeing, and just if there's anything else that I noticed watching it this time, comment on my feelings about it, and also just, the franchise as a whole, and see what everyone, see what all the fuss is about. So, without any further ado, let's get to it.
I miss the desert. I miss the sea. And I miss waking up every morning, wondering what wonderful adventure the new day will bring to us.
Those days have come and gone.
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
I don't believe in magic. But a few times in my life, I've seen things. Things I can't explain. And I've come to believe it's not so much what you believe. It's how hard you believe it.
Who is this man?
I'm her godfather.
Related.
Get back!
Wow. There's a lot going on in that trailer. There's things I remembered picking up like the first time. Like I was watching a lot to do, like I just remember the sort of the overall, like the look of it, like how the bits and pieces of the action looked. But one thing I was picking up on there in that time of the trailer was like, so let's go back to, where was it? Where did we see it? Little bits and pieces that sort of was alluding to like maybe a bit more what the story might be about, because people have been going on about maybe there's time travel in this movie, because it's like set in 1969 apparently, which is sort of roughly the amount of years in real life since the last movie, which was 2009. So it's been a little while as well since the fourth one, and like the amount of years in real life and versus the amount of years in the movie world, because I think 1957 was when that one was. So it's like 12 years, 69 to 57 to 69. And so that would be like 2021, so like 2022 was like, it's 13 years. 2023 actually, so 14 years. So it's not exactly, but it's around about, which makes sense for the like it's like what they do with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator films now, where they keep saying it's X amount of years, or he's been around. He went back in time as a Terminator, and now he's been alive for he's been around for so long, so that's why he's aged to look like current Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it makes sense that they do things like that with the story of the time that it's set in. But the stuff about time travel, because there's a bit of World War II stuff in this, or like Nazi stuff back in the day. And so the original movies, or at least the first one and the third one, where he's fighting Nazis, if I remember my chronology of them, Raiders of the Lost Ark was set in 36, which was Nazis. Temple of Doom, which wasn't Nazis, was actually 35, which no one tends to remember because nothing in that movie really indicates that it's actually a prequel, except for the fact at the start of it says 1935. But then you get Last Crusade, which is 1938, and so that's a year. World War II didn't start until September 1st, 1939. So that's like all this little took place in this little period of time where the Nazis were in control of Germany and they're in power, but the war hasn't started. So it's this little magical moment of time where they're sort of in power, but the war's not going on. So that World War whatever two-ish time stuff of the Nazis, on the train or whatever we saw, that sort of those little bits and pieces, is that like, where is it, wherever you see it, yeah, like this stuff here, where you can see he's got like he's got a some sort of German squad machine gun, like an MG42 or an MG34. That's clear, and they're blowing up a castle for some reason. I don't know what that castle is. If that's is that meant to be the castle from Last Crusade, or is that a different one? We're here to view the tapestries. Is that is that some sort of, or is it some random castle? But it's World War II-ish era time Germans. You can tell from his helmet and all that sort of stuff. So is this between Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade? Is this after Last Crusade? So it's in World War II, because apparently the way they reference World War II in the fourth movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is that he did stuff in World War II. So is this some of the stuff that he did in World War II? Like, it wasn't just that he was that's a different job, archaeology. I feel like Joey Tribbiani all of a sudden. Is this some of the missions that he went on? He wasn't just going on adventures, just looking for treasure, which might have to do with treasure or important artifacts, but he was doing missions or whatever of some sort in World War II for the Allies. So is this some of that stuff? Like, is this actually in World War II? So it's chronologically after Last Crusade, but it's also before the present day 1969 part of the story. And it's interesting to see, like, is that when that's going to be exactly taking place? Because people are, the reason I'm sort of, my mind is drawn upon that is because a lot of the commentators that I've heard on YouTube or places talking about this stuff of what the story is going to be, and the sort of the pre-criticizing of it, with the good and the bad of it all, is that they're talking about how this chick who's his goddaughter that you see show up wherever she is, showing it like at some point, where is she? You know what I mean? Where is she? Yeah, this chick here, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. They're giving her shit. She's playing a character called Helena, and she's sort of a bit more like the replacement. They're giving her crap saying the replacement, and it's like, I don't really care if they try and introduce a character afterwards this is a different person, and now Indiana Jones, the character of Indiana Jones, hangs up his hat, and now there's this other character of Helena in this universe of Indiana Jones. I don't have too much of a problem with that, but as an idea, as a general concept, but the idea of her people are talking about the idea that she's maybe replacing his adventures with this time travel stuff by going back in time and overwriting his adventures and doing them herself. So these are the rabbit holes that people are already going down, and maybe they're good reason for it, because they're hearing things from the movie set or test screenings, all this sort of stuff. But that is something that I don't really like the sound of, her replacing, like literally overwriting his adventures. Go off and have your own adventures, lady. But just and I wouldn't like that if it was a man. I don't care. I don't give a shit if it's a woman or a man. It's just the idea that you're trying to overwrite his things, and you're trying to sort of almost looper him out of time or something. Like old Biff from Back to the Future 2. Like I don't like that, but I feel like there's definitely some time travel stuff going on in it. And even the name Dial of Destiny, it's like, maybe it's some sort of ancient artifact that's a dial or something that you can use to change people's destiny, or you can use it to, something like that. It'll be some sort of take on time travel. And so there's a bit that I noticed in this time watching the trailer, though, that I didn't pick up on, because I saw the thing with where is it? I saw the bit where they're on the train. Yeah, here we go. This bit here, if you look at this bit here, they're very I don't know if it's going to be the same in the movie as it is here. It might be shadowy, but you notice this, where they're hiding who this person is walking through. So that's old Indy. That appears to be old Indy, I think, or maybe that might be young Indy. It might be young Indy, but it's definitely Indiana Jones, and they're kind of hiding who this person is. And it's like, why are they hiding who that person is? So that's one Indiana Jones, which I reckon's the old. I think it's actually the young one. And that's, what's his name? Toby Jones, the actor, who's playing some sort of character that is friends with him, or he's trying to rescue him, or something or other. Doing something. And so he, is encountering this person though, and it's like, who's this person? I reckon this is another Indiana Jones possibly. Like I think they're setting up a scenario where Indy is going to meet Indy, and so I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be a little bit antagonistic to each other. It's very interesting what's going on there. But that shot when I saw him coming through the haze there, with the way they're keeping it in the trailer, kind of.
But a few times in my life.
Yeah, like keeping it a little bit hidden.
But a few.
It's just given me that sort of, what people are talking about, and then you combine it with that. It's just interesting how trailers work and versus what you end up seeing in the movie. Like the original Hellboy movie, I remember seeing little bits and pieces of that trailer had some World War II stuff. And in my mind, I started back in the day, that was like, I think I was 15 when that movie came out. I was like, yeah, World War II, oh, awesome. Yeah, cool, World War II action, fantasy, dark stuff. And then it's literally the opening prologue that's only in World War II. And it's something, and it kind of disappointed me in a way because I'd had this vision that I'd sort of imparted onto the movie of what it was going to be. And then when I saw it, it disappointed me. And then when I actually just watched it later on without coming to the movie with sort of projections and assumptions and just tried to enjoy it for what it was, I really did enjoy it. I love that first Hellboy film. And this is sort of, even as I'm being conscious of right now as I'm saying it, I'm sort of doing this with sort of, there's that third wave or fourth wave, whatever you want to call it, of people prejudging it with the internet's, rabbit holes that people are going down of, well, the test screenings are apparently saying this and la-di-da, and the movies, the whole hush-hush and something or other's going on, And so this might be an Indiana Jones meets Indiana Jones kind of story. And so is this like the old Indiana Jones has gone back in time and he meets his young self, and so he can remember, and then there's all the sort of the plot holes of all of that of, well, would old Indiana Jones, before he meets before he goes back in time and meets his young self, would he have the knowledge of when he was young and bumping into his older self? Or does he know that it's his older self? But the way that they're sort of, these two people are facing off here, it seems very sort of like those two people can see who they are, but they were hiding that person for the camera, at least. I don't know if it'll show it as much like that. They'll probably be in the fog, in the mist, and then they'll walk out and you'll see who they are, and that'll be like, oh, old and young Indiana Jones. Yeah, it was just that definitely popped up in my mind just then. There's also this sort of stuff, like I remember noticing this the first time I watched it, when the day it came out, where that's de-aged Harrison Ford. That looks pretty good, like actually looks quite good. There's the way that he could move, like Robert De Niro in The Irishman didn't exactly look great de-aged. That was the thing people criticised about how you could do better with just the limited technology people had at home. But that looks pretty good. That looks like Harrison Ford from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Last Crusade era Indiana Jones kind of thing. There's this sort of stuff of whatever that is, an AA gun or something firing. I think that's on the train still. So there's definitely that train sequence seems to be a big part of it. Mads Mikkelsen's playing a Nazi, so this is definitely back in the World War II era. And he's also in the modern day times. He's like a Nazi. He's an ex-Nazi who's now working for NASA, which I like that story of, like, because they were like the Nazi rocket scientists became working for NASA and helping us with the Allies with stuff. And this is back in the World War II era, obviously, with the World War II German uniforms, and there's a Nazi symbol on there. I don't know what they're opening up there, but there's something that they're doing back then in World War II. There's some artifact, and it's also interesting with time travel of, as I mentioned, with if it is true that this chick Helena is sort of overwriting Indiana Jones's adventures somehow, or they're revisiting them maybe or something. Are we going to see other artifacts potentially from the other movies? Maybe that's what these guys are after. But yeah, so there's this sort of stuff, though, people are criticising, where it's like, it's obviously, it is what it is. I'm not too critical of it, but as long as him walking around on foot and everything isn't too bad, like I say, like Robert De Niro in The Irishman, how it clearly isn't, he moves like an old man, yet he's meant to look like he's young. If he's an old man Indiana Jones, like how he is here in this scene, how he's actually meant to be old Indy, even if that's not him on the horse and they've digitally added his face on, it is meant to be an old man. So it's like, okay, I can at least, movies are what they are. So, like special, I can go back and watch the original Evil Dead and enjoy it for what it is, and will not be too critical of the special effects because they are what they are. Um, it's like it is what it is. But there's some interesting stuff going on in this trailer, like like this guy's calling out for Indy back on the rooftop again of the trail of the thing. Which Indy's he talking to, if it is? This shot here reminded me, it made me think, I think this is like some sort of, I don't know where this is or what that's exactly going through. So like, what's happening there? That looks like some sort of portal or something's going on there, and that looks like a plane that they're in. It reminded me, like, makes you think of the Millennium Falcon, because that's kind of what the cockpit of that was, I think, based on, was those sort of World War II bomber pilot sort of things. But that looks like there's some sort of like portal or some sort of energy thing going on. Maybe it's up a plane in the sky, and it looks like there's rain going on. So I don't know if that's the same scene as when that train, or the same night or piece of time as when that train scene takes place. So there's this guy up on the rooftop as well. That could be the guy, this random German dude with it. That could be the guy that steps through the fog. But just the way that they sort of keep that bit in the fog hidden, that might just be him though, And we're just then putting all of these theories and going down these rabbit holes of just nothing whatsoever. But it is kind of interesting how people go down these rabbit holes before the next episode of a TV show comes out, or a sequel of a movie or something comes along, like this in this case, and you go, well, what's this and that, and we just have more and more nuggets of information to sort of chew upon before the actual film comes out. And there's obviously some modern day kind of like action taking place with the Indy, like in the sort of the 1969 time period of it. Where he's riding around in New York or someplace like that. I think it's New York it's meant to be. I like that they've got John Rhys Davies back as Sala again. He's probably only going to show up in a scene like that, where he just sort of talks to him. He's not going to be involved in the action like he wasn't at all in any of the other ones in any way, shape or form. I am interested to see whose goddaughter that chick is. Like, who is she? She doesn't look like she'd be the daughter of him, but you never know, maybe she is. She might be. That might be how he gets to sort of might be even bothering dealing with her, is because I feel like she's got to be the friend. She's got to be made his god, to be made her godfather. She's got to be she's got to be her father or something or other's got to be of some importance to Indy. A friend of some sort. So yeah, it's just interesting how this is going to turn out. Like, I think personally that they this is actually kind of an interesting thing here as well. I didn't really think about this too much in this way when I first watched this, but someone was telling me the scene is the reverse of how, like in the first movie and in Temple of Doom, how there's that scene where the guy comes out with a sword and does the big thing, and you think, oh, there's going to be a big fight, and then Indy just goes bang, shoots him, and then the guy drops dead. And then in Temple of Doom, they have sort of the play on that, where two guys show up with swords, and then Indy goes to grab his gun, but he doesn't have it on him, so he runs. So they had sort of an inverse of that scene from Raiders, but how this scene...
Godfather related. Get back!
Bit of a delay upon them shooting, but the idea that now he's the person that sort of, he brought a whip to a gunfight kind of thing. And I thought that was a nice inverse of that, but that he's on the other side of that, as opposed to just him not having the gun this time and just running off like in Temple of Doom. It's actually, he's on the opposite side of that gag. The idea of him being the old man and it not being quite the way it was before, that gag is maybe a good one. I felt like an interesting way to, get to that point of him, like that the things aren't playing out the way they always do. But yeah, it's interesting how this movie's going to turn out, because it's obviously the last one that Harrison Ford's going to do of Indiana Jones, and that's him retiring as the role of it. And then just, all this pre-backlash that people have about it, and just I can understand if you do hear things and they make you feel, if they are legitimate and they do make you feel a certain way, but there is just the legitimacy of what people hear, and then just, you know, how sort of how they make you react. And so it's interesting, like, you know, what's going to become of it, because I just want to see a good Indiana Jones film, you know, as I'm sure most people, the actual fans of it, do. But it's just interesting because I felt like the fourth one, for better or for worse of it all, it at least ended the character on a good note of, okay, he's connected with he's gotten back with his chick that he was with in the first one, and he's sort of known her from the past, and he's finally kind of settling down now. He marries her at the end, and he meets his son, and a bit of a family forms, and that's it. He's got a family now, and he can kind of, he's still around. Maybe he has adventures, you don't know, but it's not about the final full stop, but it's just about, at least as far as the movies are concerned, for us, the audience, that we can feel like the characters come to a conclusion. But he is still out there, you know. We're not killing him off. We're not saying, hey, he's actually properly done now. It's just, as far as we're concerned, he's in a happy place. And now we're kind of coming back to him, and it's like, oh, where's the chick? She's gone, and his son's not there, and so where do we really end, you know? And apparently we're going to end potentially with, there's a few different endings of this film that are in existence, and there have been different ones shown at different test screenings, and at least one of those endings, I don't know if all of them, but at least one of them has him die. And it's like, I just feel like that's, you know, Han Solo dying was one thing because he was part of a greater franchise. The Star Wars franchise wasn't Han Solo, but Indiana Jones is the franchise. So I'm all good with sort of you doing a spin-off movie with another character of, the, say, this Helena chick or whoever, you know, like doing Furiosa prequel to Mad Max. But, you know, but that's making it a different franchise. You know, that's going, oh, we're taking a character out of that franchise and putting them off here, and so it's a universe now, but this is they're in their franchise. But Indiana Jones this is the Indiana Jones franchise, and you can't, you know, they didn't kill off Mad Max. They just have him continue on again the way he does in his adventures. So they should do that with Indiana Jones, where you just sort of, okay, you can leave him in a nice place, and then you could follow on with another character in their own franchise in what would now be a Indiana Jones universe, you know, but it's at least not a permanent end to the character, which I feel like Indiana Jones deserves, you know, whereas Han Solo, he was part of a greater sort of webbing and interweaving of characters. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I just want to see a good Indiana Jones movie, you know. But, you know, everyone thinks differently. Tell me what you think, and we'll debate and we'll chat, and we'll wait and see on, when was it? June 30th. Until then, we'll wait and see.